Some Texas police agencies, by the way, not happy with a report released last week on the Robb Elementary shooting by a Texas House Investigative Committee.
And that's because they say their officers had nothing to do with the active shooter response. Yet the highly critical report lumps them with other agencies. Investigative reporter Jeremy Rogowski joins us now with more details. Jeremy?
Well, Mia and Len, by the time they arrived in Uvalde, those agencies tell us the shooter was already dead, and in no way were their officers and deputies part of the flawed law enforcement response at the school.
Texas House investigators lambasted law enforcement for shortcomings and missed opportunities at Robb Elementary, finding systemic failures and egregiously poor decision-making among law enforcement. But this veteran cop says it paints the response with a broad brush.
When we saw the report come out, we were, as you can imagine, we were disappointed.
Homer Delgado is chief of the Dilley Police Department, about 60 miles from Uvalde.
Because it made it look like Dilley had officers who had responded to the actual shooting.
Chief Delgado says he arrived in Uvalde about a half hour after the shooter was killed, and other Dilley officers hours after that. They were assigned to crowd control duties far away from the school.
DPS, FBI had already taken control of the scene, and we were actually not allowed anywhere near the area of the school property.
Yet the House Committee interim report lists Dilley among the 376 law enforcement officers who responded to the tragedy at the school. It also lists 16 officers from San Antonio PD's SWAT team, but that department tells us upon arrival, SAPD was notified the attacker had been killed. And 2 deputies with the Valverde County Sheriff's Office also arrived after the shooter had been neutralized. The sheriff tells us they were assigned to crowd control at the local hospital.
I would like to set the story straight.
For Chief Delgado, accountability should only come with proper context.
No Dilley officer arrived at the scene in time to have any influence on whatever the outcome may have been.
Now, we tried to get comment from the Texas House Investigative Committee about all of this. Chairman Dustin Burrows told us on the phone to reach out to his chief of staff. So we did, multiple times, by email, text, and several voicemail messages, but we have yet to hear back. Guys?
We know you made the calls, left the messages. Jeremy Rogowski tonight, thank you.